I need to make a sticky for Dear Becky and Lizzie
You
too,
do.
right? Yeah. Anyway,
Nope.
that's today. Yes. We're setting up. Hang on.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Still finishing things, apparently. Good morning. And, ooh, ponytail problems. Welcome to the Sun Dragon Sideshow.
The Dear Becky and Lizzie edition.
What was that?
The Dear Becky and Lizzie edition.
I didn't hear because, you know, life. Yes, it is Thursday. So we are answering questions if we have any. And I have things I can fill space with, you know. So Shark Space. Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber in rainy and nasty and kind of miserable, but could be worse, Brevard, North Carolina.
I'm Liz. I'm the minion there.
Yes.
It's 20 plus degrees warmer today than it has been the last few days.
That's why it could be worse.
Yeah.
Because my sister
But it
in
is
Illinois,
rainy and windy and nasty.
my sister in Illinois is getting the rainy and windy and nasty and cold temperatures. They were supposed to be like a 50-degree temperature drop. And that's just dangerous. So yes. So at least we don't have that. I am warm enough to be in my Ranunculus, which is short sleeved. Since you were wearing, I forgot to put that in the notes from yesterday. If I remember, I'll go back and put it in.
My Dead Easy.
You were wearing the Dead Easy yesterday. There's so many things to remember. And as Marion has indicated on several knit nights, when you watch, you can tell if my brain is melting down. My brain's a little melty today. Just letting you know. Yeah, I've been kind of fighting a migraine all week, I guess. I can't remember. Like maybe it was over the weekend. There was Saturday was the really bad day.
Yeah.
And I've been going like this in and out of it. It's been like, I'm good now. I'm fine. I don't need any, no, maybe there it is again. It's been waffling in and out all week. So, want to say Tuesday, maybe I took one day this week. It might have actually been, no, today's Thursday. I can't keep track of the days. I think it was Tuesday night. Like I took goodies before I went to bed and I survived the next day, which was yesterday. And I probably should have done that last night and I didn't.
We'll see how fun it gets.
Yeah, like my forehead hurt like physically out here, not inside, hurt yesterday. And that's usually a sign that I should treat it in some way. And I was like, but I don't wanna. And yeah. So hi. Today this should go fine-ish because I can usually pull something out for all you all people so you don't have to see me super miserable. Anyway. And laughter actually helps. So
It does.
We entertain each other while we're filming for this, and that helps with my whole day actually. So quick note while she's pulling up her stuff. So yesterday we one new product from Knitter's Pride. This is not the new product. This is not what's on sale, but it is a modification of this. So I'm showing this off. The Mindful series, which is not on sale this week, has folding scissors, which have recently been revamped, and they're in this cute little pouch, by the way. But the travel folding scissors from the Mindful collection are all rainbowy and super cute. And Knitter's Pride has released their non-mindful collection, in case you're not digging the rainbow jazz, which I always am. They are, oh, and these have little instructions. How adorable. They've released the non-mindful collection version of the travel scissors, and look, they come in this cute little pouch. It's oddly shaped, but it's super cute. Because I think this is oddly shaped because the scissors inside are not asymmetrical, but this pouch is asymmetrical. So, and has cute little flowers.
It would be great to throw regular scissors into. And
you
also
could use
notions.
it for something else. Yes, it's true. Little scissors that like we sell here from Bryson would fit in this little pouch. So these are rose gold. They're not rainbow. They are rose gold. I believe we have them at the same price, $8.50. But they're travel scissors. So you pull both sides fully out. Let me just make sure I'm actually doing that right. And fold. And then I use the actual handles here, which by the way, they have these little holes in the end. So you could always thread a ribbon or something through to like,
Or one of
keep
the
track of 'em.
eyeglass.
yeah, right. Keep them
Yeah.
around your neck. So, but then you fold them totally out. So they're all the way in. I use the little, I don't push on the blade. And then you push these back in. And I have trouble. Sometimes usually they're pretty smooth. And when they say caution, cut hazard, sharp blade, contact may result in injury. Always keep blades away from fingers and body. So it probably under the tag says handle open and close with these, sorry, these things.
Issues.
Yeah, issues. Yes, one of the downsides of the knit kit we used to carry, the old version, the new ones are probably great and we don't carry knit kits anymore. Because they've gotten super fancy, which is great, but difficult for us to carry. Was you actually did have to like mush, like you couldn't get the scissors in and out without touching the blades. And I was like, that's not good.
Cool.
That's not safe. These ones are totally fine. You just zoop, zoop, and then you push them in. So don't have to touch the blades at all. And the rose gold ones, which are on sale this week, I put them in that category. Let me know if there's any issues. They have a little pictures on how to use them. Isn't that cute? The mindful ones don't. The mindful ones are like figured out. So, you know, yeah. 1, 2, 3. They even have them numbered so you know what order to do the directions in. Okay, so these are on sale this week. We ran out of time anyway yesterday, but we didn't have them close at hand. But they're new, so they're on sale. And an update on the barber cords. I haven't checked this morning, but yesterday, like for the longest time, they're coming from Finland. They were stuck in Denmark for like a week, but yesterday they were in Germany, so they should be coming soon. We're totally out. We're totally out, but we should be coming soon. And I saw a thing on Knit and Chat. I'm totally wasting our time, but hang on. Kind of useful, kind of not. I saw someone post on Knit and Chat. They found, it was like for making ponytails or something. They found a substitute for the knitting barber cords. They're like, look at Michael's. I found this thing and it's only $5 and it's like 60 feet and it looks just like the barber cords. But I also saw some comments on that post of they're not as durable. It looks like silicone and it looks like it's going to work with the needles somewhat. There's also been mentions of them breaking. I haven't tested. I don't know.
It sounds like you get what you pay for. Like
kind of does, right? The ones we're carrying in the shop are the originals that this woman in Finland, whether she designed or found the right product that would work, and that's what she's marketing. I mean, I haven't been using them super long. I've been using them since we got them into the shop like a month ago, probably.
But
like,
I've been steadily
using
using them, not just one sleeve here or there, but
and I like the length.
multiple sweaters.
Yes, I like that they come 3 to a pack. And hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, all that stuff. We'll have a new shipment in, and that should keep us for a while. We might, if they fly off the shelves again, we'll just order again right as fast as we can. So I think that's all the business side stuff that I can remember that I wanted to mention. I'm sure I will remember something else because but
Well,
do you have your questions up?
I have questions up.
Okay.
This is the one we saved from last week.
This is the one we saved from last week, and I thought I'd bring a different book in, and I didn't. But I'm going to go get. Liz is gonna read.
Dear Becky and Lizzie, I have knit a few sweaters and always get anxious about sizing and fit because I end up not wanting them to fit the way they do on the models, too form-fitting for my taste. But I'm not sure about changing the pattern. Can you recommend one or more reference books about sweater construction and designing your own pattern for your particular body shape and desired fit? I love your videos and draw inspiration from your makes. Thanks in advance for your insight. Love to you both. Aspiring Carolizer.
Well, and just to start with the signature. So carolizing is what if you haven't been watching the whole time, carolizing is what we affectionately call adapting and changing a pattern, because we have a knitter, shout out to Carol, who basically changes, I think, just about every single thing that she makes. I think sometimes that results in, if it's a pattern that doesn't lend itself to any adaptations, she's not a fan of that pattern. But to start with that one is like, I guess you are a quasi Carolite, like you Lizify. We turn them all into birds. I don't tend to change patterns very much. And some of that is just the nature of the shop. Like, I need to follow the recipe. I need to read the label, because hang on. Just because if someone walks into the shop and says, I like what you're wearing, or I like what's up there, if I've made too many changes, it's too hard to communicate and I lose the sale most of the time.
Okay, so the Lizifying,
Mhm.
I don't change the pattern. Like,
okay.
Well, what would you say I change? I will change pearls to knits.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking of, and I'm sorry, because I just
shocked me with this. But
no.
Like, but I will
I
shorten
just told her not to
sweaters.
cut me off, and now I'm cutting her off. So.
I will shorten sweaters.
Mhm.
I would, but the pattern is exactly as written. I just don't do.
I'm thinking of your Il Grande Favorito, like you put a different edging on it.
Oh yeah,
you did a different size, like, but it's
No.
true. Well, you have in for some of them.
I did.
But that's when
I
you're
went
trying to
up a
really
needle because their largest size was still
Mhm. Well, that's
not me.
And you've
So,
taken patterns
but
that
it's
you
exactly
liked,
the same.
and like you did heavier weight yarn for
Yes.
one, so we had to like,
But
but
the pattern is exactly as written. I've changed
yeah,
the parameters for sizing,
Mhm.
but I follow the pattern exactly.
which could apply to this person's question.
Apart from like needles,
kind of, yeah.
or ribbon.
And that's one of the we may fall short on this question for what she or he is hoping for is it's not necessarily something we do, to be quite honest. Like, I've gotten the questions of, well, how do you, like, I've made these videos for how to interpret a pattern or how to know what's going on in a pattern. And then people say, well, how would you adapt a pattern for someone who's petite and busty and doesn't want it to be all drapey in the back because of the girls in the front? And I hear that, and that's some issues for me too, but I'm not actually sure how to fix that. Like, I could have theories, but I don't have definite answers.
I think in the terms of like sewing, which for me, I do a lot of sewing. Sewing 101, follow a pattern. Sewing 401, design your own pattern.
Lots of trial and error. Yeah.
The classes and the specialties of being able to do that are either trial and error your whole life, knitting career, whatever, or finding someone that knows how to
That's
do
already
that.
done that. Yeah.
But a lot of books are like, here's a pattern, and not necessarily how to. The Raglan one is put different collars on it.
And the Raglan one, also, yes, they have different collars, different hems, but not necessarily different adjustments for bust shaping. And that one is written, most of those patterns are written to have tremendous ease. Like the new style, like, this is pretty open, but it also hangs nicely. And some of that is not the pattern. Some of it is. Some of that is the fiber you're using will have different drape and needle size and gauge. If it's a tight gauge or a loose gauge for that size of yarn, like there's so many factors that can change. That's why the Ranunculus is this amazing pattern that every time you make it, it kind of looks different because the needles are consistent for the most part, unless you decide to change them. But the thickness of yarn you use, the kind of yarn the fiber, all of that is going to change, and you can change the sleeves and stuff, but all that is going to change how it comes out. And you may like or not like that too. That's one of the issues. But she's asking, the person who's writing, trying to keep this nice and neutral for everybody because it applies to everybody, is asking about books. And I have this one book that's just kind of fun, but it's not necessarily my go-to. Like, I don't think I might have tried starting a sweater from this, but I can't guarantee that this is an awesome book. It's just a fun looking book. Neither one of us has a whole lot of reference books that we go to. And that's partially the direction knitting is moving. And that's partially us, I feel like.
Mhm.
I have some really great reference books over there from when I was I quasi dabbled with the knitting master's program. I got 2 swatches done. I never sent anything in, but I did some research for it. So I have some overall reference books that are probably good to have on the shelf. It's like for Christmas, I just got Mark Bittman's How to Cook Everything book. Like that's a great one to have on the shelf for the kitchen. I have 1 or 2 books that are really great to have as a reference guide, but I can tell you the last time I looked in them was probably 2 years ago. Like, or, I've
Well-
dabbled with looking in them.
And like we were discussing with a customer's daughter yesterday.
We were, okay.
Well, she had
Remind
a
me,
piece.
'cause-
It was a pieced sweater
Yes.
that
yes,
was
yes,
an
yes.
off the shoulder,
It was a drop shoulder.
a drop shoulder.
Which means the panels that go
Yeah.
in the front and back are just like chonk.
We saw her try it on. It fit her for a drop shoulder beautifully.
It looked really nice on her.
She doesn't like how it fits because it's drop shoulder and that's not her aesthetic. Like it just, she's like, it doesn't fit the way I want it to.
Mhm.
And some of it is the style. Like we both like raglan or all over yoke increases, but
for some people, yeah.
for some people a fitted seamed sweater actually fits better than
And for some people with their shoulder type, a drop shoulder sweater actually works better. It's people with like, and some people come in saying, I don't have hard shoulders, or I don't, some people have ideas of what their body type is, which may or may not be accurate, but, and different sweater types will accent different things. Like you've talked about how when you set in sleeves, you like, just like you have with your
Yeah,
sleeves
I
right now, a little bit of a poof.
them.
And that's sewing them in differently than or making them a little differently than another person might. So I don't have a good sweater reference book. I'm not actually up to date on all the books that are out there right now because there's so many books out there. And like we've got the Ready Set Raglan book, but that is not necessarily a good book. It's a good book for raglan seam basic patterns to get you going. It's not going to be the volume that tells you how to make the perfect sweater. It's not going to be the one that tells you how to modify for bust sizes, which we've already had the conversation about. I'd have to actually test that more to know if that is even valid, because different cup sizes are different based on your band size. We've had that conversation, but maybe that is compensated for if you're making a different bust size this way, then adjusting for cup size this way actually works. I don't even know, right?
Well, and different fibers will be, if you take a wool sweater, you make it out of cotton, like you went up huge sizes with your not that one, the Sammy one that you did,
the
Soldotna.
I did.
Yeah, I think you did.
Oh, I
it
had
on-
my gauge
Yeah.
based on the yarn I was using. I think all of them I've there's very few that I've done in the same needle as the patterns written, especially with color work.
Yeah.
Because my gauge is just different, and that's me, and that's the yarn I'm using being different than the yarn that the pattern was written for, and then I'm different than the pattern writer.
Yeah.
So, but I have not yet found a magical reference book that would address everybody's sweater questions. If anyone who's watching has a book they like, definitely put it in the comments and other people can check the comments, because that's awesome. I haven't found one yet. And I don't know if one person is going to be the expert on sweaters. They could be. It'd be great if there was a collaboration, but I'm not the one who has the energy to pull that together.
I
So.
do know that Ann Budd's sweater book, that once again Carol, shout out to Carol, uses a lot. It's, here's your gauge, so you do a gauge swatch and then you match all the numbers. But
That's all of her books. Yeah.
I'm not sure that it's a design to fit certain like
curves
yeah.
and body types. And the Ann Budd books are great for, like, she's got one for sweaters. She's got one for like general things like vests and mittens and stuff like that. And hers are neat because you have a graph, a little chart. And when you figure out what your gauge is, how many stitches per inch, you can modify. So you don't have to fit a pattern's gauge. She has the pattern fit your gauge. That's really cool. I had I had a service, I'm probably discontinuing it with Amy Herzog, and it's not her company anymore, but it's the Amy Herzog Custom Fit, where you figure out your gauge with a yarn and then you pick one of her patterns and it will do the math for you. But that's still not helping with different body sizes.
Yeah.
Like I remember we tried to take one of her, like that's the best online reference I know in many ways, but we tried to take one of her patterns and we wanted to make it A-line instead of straight down, because someone we were designing for is a little bit more of a pear shape. They have more going on their hips. And if we go off their hip measurement, it was going to be too wide up here and it wouldn't change that way.
Mhm.
And that would be something we'd have to figure out. And that's not my area of expertise. And when I've had people come in the shop and be like, you know, I want to make this, you figure it out. It's like, that's not my area of expertise. And they're like, what? And yeah, I'm not all things to all people. I wish I could be. And just because I own a local yarn shop doesn't mean I know everything. And
We're-
some people already know that, but
We're all different in our
Yeah.
abilities, and
and I can probably do some things here at this yarn shop that other local yarn store owners can't, and vice versa. But yeah, I didn't like get a degree in knitting and crocheting in order to open the yarn shop. So there's some things I'm still learning, and I think that's life. There's always things we're all learning.
I think
I'm still
for a lot of businesses,
Mhm.
you might get a business degree, but
And I don't have that.
it's not a prerequisite. It's
Yeah,
just,
it's not a prerequisite, and it doesn't mean that your business will be successful if you have
Yeah.
it. But I'm always searching for new topics for tips and tricks for the life lessons, and that might be one of them. But I have to remember it, and this might not let me remember that. Anyway, so this was just a fun book I got a while back. I don't even know if it's still in print. But it's 1,000 sweaters, and it reminds me of mix and match patterns for the perfect personalized sweater. It reminds me of one of those books I had as a kid where you had the different like top, middle, and bottom, and you could flip like certain pages of the book and put together a different person. And I forget why those were cool as a kid. Like I don't know if there was a purpose to that book at all, or if it was just weird. But this one has top pieces that you can turn, and it has bottom pieces that you can turn. And it's talking about like how you want the torso to look, and then sleeves, and they're different sleeves. Like they have all these symbols for your sleeve, your neckline, and if you want a pocket. So this one's like a Fair Isle cardigan. I've got beaded, I'm in the cardigan section apparently. I don't think they're all. Intarsia sweater, oversized sweater. They all have, and it's like you need a sleeve that has this shape, or you need a sleeve that has this shape. So they're all pieced, but it's like raglan seam fits with raglan seam. So you can flip through the different collars, the different neck edgings, the different, like down here, you can flip through and pick a cowl neck, and you can make your own, Frankenstein your own sweater, but you are limited. Like you can't take a raglan sleeve and put it into a fitted sleeve top. It won't fit, it won't work. But it gives you all of the different things. It's pretty cool. So it's called 1,000 Sweaters. It's by Amanda Griffiths. And I've had this for forever. It's just, if you wanted a book with like they've got all these different pictures of different things you can end up making. Short sleeves, long sleeves, all that kind of stuff. It's from Krause Publications, and copyright 2004. So I probably got it not too long after it came out. And I just, it's, let's see. And they probably have, they have it for, it's not like you can change it for different thicknesses of yarn. A lot of what I'm seeing here is for DK yarn. I don't know if all of it is. It might be that everything is for like number 3 yarn. You might be able to fudge it for number 4. But so unfortunately, we don't have a good answer for like a good reference book. But what a lot of people are doing now is they're cobbling stuff together, or they're going to their favorite online resource. And so finding someone who's good at sweaters online, or good at modifying sweaters online, is the way to go. And so Ann Budd has a lot of good patterns for a multitude of things, not just sweaters. I know several good pattern writers. That doesn't mean that they are going to be a good resource for how to modify a pattern. Can we go back to that question for just one more second in terms of the specific issue for this writer, for this person who wrote in about her body or his?
I have knit a few sweaters and always get anxious about sizing and fit
Mhm.
because I end up not wanting them to fit the way they do on the models. Too form fitting for my taste.
So that specific issue, one of the things is if you don't like how they look on the models, you may not want to make that sweater. Just straight up, like, easiest answer to it. If you're looking through a Ravelry selection, I definitely recommend looking at the patterns tab if other people have made it, because you might see rather than a model wearing it, who actually a lot of times for like the fancy photography, they gather things. It doesn't actually fit that way. Like sometimes the pictures, there's clothespins in the back that we can't see. And we don't know who's doing that with knit patterns and who's not. I mean, I think the movement is more towards authentic pictures and authentic fit and all that kind of stuff, but not necessarily. So looking at projects people have made and if they've taken photos of themselves in those projects, like seeing the ones that on Ravelry that have more photos of like test knitters and how they fit, then you can get a sense of how it's going to actually maybe fit you.
I do that a lot with like a new sweater pattern. Like,
Mhm.
and some of my sweaters are not as widely project
Mhm.
as like one of our knitters, shout out to Amy D. She likes there to be 100
Mhm.
projects listed on Ravelry before she'll do it. But if I can go into some sweaters or, you know, something that has to fit and go, okay, I'm not a little girl. I need to see other not little size people in the project
Mhm.
to know. And then sometimes people put notes like, hey, it came out
That can
like
be very helpful.
this and I altered it like this.
And I was
So-
happy or not
and I- yeah.
happier. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing, if the issue is that sweaters are too form fitting, a possible solution, and not guaranteed solution, but a possible solution is go up one size. Like not massively, unless that's what you want. But if it's like, okay, you know, measure your bust and account for 2 inches of positive ease. So you measure your bust size, and I think I'm right about a 43 right now. So I would look for a size that's about a 45. But if I'm like, it looks too small on the model, I might go to the one that's 47. I might go up to the next size. And sometimes there's the finished sizes there's a huge difference between the finished sizes. And so you have to pick down or up. Or do I make my gauge a little bigger, but then you need magic math to make sure you're not going to be swimming in it. But there's always the danger when you go up sizes to have more comfort in here, that it may fit weird up here. Or the sleeves, you might have to make more modifications, or you might just have to be okay with how it comes out. That's kind of a lot of garment knitting, I feel like, is a little bit of a gamble and a little bit of a risk. I guess those words both work together, kind of. And if you're not okay with that, you either have to be okay with trying and ripping out, frogging it to try again, or you might not want to be doing that. You know, you have to decide where your comfort level is and your engagement level. Is it something that you're going to stall out on and never finish? Or is it something that you're willing to put in the work if it means making it several times? If that's not going to bring you joy, don't do it. But it can be very rewarding in the end. It just might take a while.
Making it several times leads us to our next question.
Okay, and this one I think came to me, and I keep reiterating, if you're watching this, please send questions. If you want us to answer a question on here, this one came in recently enough that I was like, rather than write them back, let's talk about it on the show. But that's not generally how questions get on here. Don't send them to me. It's sundragonartandfiber.com, but do Liz at sundragonartandfiber. It's actually less spelling and less work than sending it to me. with my name at the head of the email. Because she keeps track of them all. I will lose them, but luckily this one came in very recently. So this is not normal that something sent to me comes up here. But this time we'll do it. So
Sweet. Hi from Canada. Huge fan of your YouTube. What is the limit of attempts on a knitting project before you say not made to try or do? You keep the pattern and attempt to knit it again at a later time. My pattern is the Truth and Reconciliation shawl from Julie Page. 3 tries at it. Thanks, your Canadian knitter friend.
and I haven't
Okay.
looked up this specific pattern, but it's a good question, and it's a very personalized question. But we can try to answer it for us. How many times do you try a pattern if it's really challenging you and it's really difficult, or it might have errors in it and you're not sure, or just something is going wonky with it? How many times do you give it a try before you give up on it? Or do you, or put it in timeout and come back to it? Or don't, I mean, honestly, if things go in timeout for a very long time for me, they're probably not going to be made. Like that's what happens to me. If I put something in timeout because it needs a break, it's the same thing as like, I'll put this aside. I'll take home leftovers because I'll eat them another day. I'm getting better at that because I do HelloFresh now
Yeah.
and kind of have to eat leftovers. But there's a really good chance if I bring home food from a restaurant, it with the hopes of not wasting it and eating it another day, there's a very high likelihood it's just going to get thrown out. So if a project goes into Uber timeout, because either I'm frustrated with it or I've moved on to something else, or there's a very high likelihood it will never see the light of day again. It might not get frogged. I have projects from before I started the shop, which is 5 years ago, that are still sitting in project bags. Will I ever get back to them? Especially because they're not yarn we sell at the shop? Probably not. What's your thing about, I mean, I'm going backwards through the question again, kind of, but if you
have
put things in timeout, do you go back to them?
Yes.
Okay.
Generally, because sometimes they have to go into timeout so my brain can process the pattern.
Mhm.
Like,
It's like taking a 3 to 5 to think about.
yeah, taking a 3 to 5
Mhm.
to just, sometimes it needs to, but if it sits in deep timeout, chances are, like, I've put stuff away in May because it was getting too hot to knit, only to pull it out in like October and go, oh, I was only like 3 inches from finishing this. But my brain at the time was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. But
yeah.
But for like issues, either I'll have an apostrophe like after we've had space from each other and be like, oh, that's I think how that works. Like it'll just like poof, light
Yeah.
bulb.
So when it's
But if it goes into deep,
mhm.
I have a sweater. There was a piece sweater. And it's not that I had issues making it like with the pattern. It was a pieced sweater. And there was a lot of,
Well, and that's the thing of like why it's going into timeout can definitely affect if it comes back out.
yeah.
And the idea of, I'm thinking about like the adage that applies to like when you move and things and you have boxes or like things you haven't used in your house in like a year. The adage is you probably don't need it and you should get rid of it. Now, have I? No. But but the same thing could be said about knitting. I do have like, this morning's meditation, it's not because I was frustrated by it, but it's just, I knit on socks for the morning meditation this morning because I was like, I've made no progress on anything. So let me go into deep timeout and pull out something that I was hoping to get back to at some point. And these are some self-patterning socks that I was like, oh, I could do this. I might not touch these, and I haven't touched these for like at least a year. And I might not touch them again for another year. Who knows? But things being in timeout doesn't mean that they're gone forever, but it can. To go back to the how many times do you try something before you give up on it? And that's a personal question, right? I'm trying to think if there's anything that I struggled with, so I gave up on.
I would say I tend to psych myself out about it before I start the pattern.
Even before you start, that's definitely an issue.
But then once I get into the pattern, my fears were like way overblown. Like I had nightmares, actual nightmares about provisional cast on for a brioche hat. It wasn't the brioche that scared me. It was the provisional cast on.
I saw someone in an Instagram video doing it differently.
Yeah.
The backwards of how I do it. So
Yeah.
there's all
But,
kinds of stuff out
like,
there.
I was like, I can't do this. It's provisional cast on. I'm going to die. And then I did it and was like, huh.
Well,
Yeah,
but the person writing in has a slightly different issue of they are tackling something
Yes.
and it's frustrating. And that becomes an issue. Like I'm doing some crochet right now. It's in timeout because it's challenging and I've had to redo stuff on it. And I think that again, that's that personal issue, a personal preference of, is the challenge like, is it becoming frustrating to the point of you just don't want to do it anymore? Or is it a determination thing of I will conquer this pattern?
Yeah.
And then within that, there is what is going to bring you the best level of satisfaction? Is it going to be tackling that pattern? We know people, we've talked to people who I say, it's okay to let this go. And they're like, no, I will finish this. And it's like, if that will in the end bring you the reward and satisfaction, go for it. If in the end you're going to conquer it and you're going to kind of be like, it's not really going to bring you the closure you wanted. And you know that the more that you engage with that. So
I'm an advocate of if it's super frustrating, give it some space.
Give it some space, which means with knowing you may not come back to it. And if you're really close to finishing, like if you can find someone to help you get over that last hump or keep digging into it. But then I'm a fan of having something on the side that gives you more satisfaction. Like, so that's not your only thing. Like there's something else that can provide some serotonin, some dopamine, whichever
Make
one
a
is
hat,
right.
make something quick that, I
that
did
you can
something
feel a sense of
finished.
accomplishment. Yes. Along the way, or just put it in timeout / dump it and turn your attention to something that is going to give you that satisfaction, like a smaller project, an easier project. If you have 2 projects going at once, I'm a really big fan of one that's more challenging to like fire off the synapses and make your brain work. And then when your brain starts to ooze out your ears, you can take a break and go to the more mindless one for relaxation. And then when that gets boring, you can flip back to the more complicated one. So that's why I'm a really big fan of at least having 2 projects going, even if you're a monogamous knitter. But again, I won't force people to do that because you know what makes you happy, or you will find out what makes you happy. But it could be that it's okay to do something else, especially if it brings you joy. And it's okay to do something that's not as challenging. Some people engage in knitting and crocheting because they're like, okay, now that I knit, I must climb Mount Everest. And, or they come in here and say, well, I'm just a beginner because I haven't climbed Mount Everest. And that's not how I look at it. I like doing challenging projects, but I'm not going to say I'm better than anyone else because I do that and they don't. I'm going to say we're all knitters and we're all doing what personally, it's like a personal record or personal goal or what brings you joy. If you knit, you're a knitter. And I'm probably going to say anything that you wear into the shop, I'm going to say it's beautiful. And I'm not just trying to suck up. I really do think that things that are created, that you create or someone else has created for you, are beautiful, no matter how complicated or mindless they are.
Or flawed in your own eyes.
Yes, that too, because we're our own worst critics most often. It's not about how perfect it is that makes it beautiful. It's that somebody made it is what makes it, for me, makes it beautiful. It could be filled with errors. It's still cool to me. So, but everyone has their own I don't care bar. is one way we talk about it. Everyone has their own way
Well-
of analyzing or feeling comfortable with it. So,
It's funny with the errors because I know for a fact my granny virus shawl has about 50 errors in it. Like my I don't care bar is so low.
but people come in the
But-
shop and think
And
it's amazing.
I try and actually find them. You can't find them. So like they're like, there's no errors in it. I'm like, there's like 50 in here. I
There's
promise.
I can find errors in my work or not find them sometimes. And people come and say, oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. And I know it's not I don't think anything I've ever made has been perfect. Sometimes I fix mistakes and sometimes I let them be. And it's what's gonna bring you more joy? Going back and fixing things and ripping out 6 million times, or making something that is completely like crazy imperfect, but you made it. And I'm not putting either one of those as better or worse than the other.
No.
Because I mean, everyone's got their personal where they fit on that scale. Absolutely. And knowing where you're comfortable or where you're happy is a journey. And that's not always going to stay the same either. That's going to change, and that's okay.
It's a
So-
personal preference. Like I love scrappy
Mhm.
projects. They're really, really cool. But we have lots of knitters who are like, I cannot wrap my brain around using not the right size yarn, not the
Mhm.
right,
It's like, I can't do that. Or the label says I have to use this needle.
Yeah.
So it's not going to work for this project. And I'm like, no, the pattern writer made it for small yarn with a big needle. So it's you got to feel out where your comfort zone is. And the caveat I always have on that is sometimes staying in your comfort zone is perfect. And sometimes pushing yourself out of your comfort zone is perfect. And that's going to change. I'm not going to say one is better than the other. I'm not going to be
Yeah.
like, you only make dishcloths, because that only has judgment in it. And if you love making dishcloths, you make dishcloths. That's fantastic. That might not be the thing that brings me joy, but if it brings you joy, we're going to find you some yarn for it. So,
But no, if you
Yeah.
can make a dishcloth,
you could also make
You can
anything
make
else
anything.
you want. Absolutely. I tell people, I always default to, for knitting, it's knit and purl. For crochet, it's single and double, and chains kind of fit into that part. If you know those basic skills, I can teach you to make anything here in the shop. Might take time, but you have the skills and you can build off of them. But if you don't want to take the time, that's okay too. Do what brings you joy. If that means making scarves where you're knitting every single row for the rest of your life, that's awesome. Because you can always, if you want to, find crazy yarn and other things. And like, there's ways to modify that and make it interesting. Or if that's interesting to you, again, I'm catching the words as I say them, just doing that just can come across, can be impactful as judgment, and it's not meant that way. If you want to make scarves that have the same exact stitch in them for the rest of your days on this earth, that is fine. If it brings you joy, that is fine. That's great. If you look at other things and go, I want to try that someday. If that's itching at you, do it. Could take time, but that's okay too. So I could go off for like hours on this, but anyway.
yeah.
But it's really hard to say that, oh, well, the magic number for me is 3 and then I quit. I'm one of those stubborn people that I will go not until it's right, but I will go until it's done. And it could be done and not be perfect. And I'll be okay with that to some point. I'll still have a little bit inside me that's like, but I will move on.
I would also, like, if you've done it a few times and you don't know if it's the pattern or if it's you, I would go and check and see if there are any errata listed,
Mhm.
or if other people
Have
like
had the
on
same
Ravelry
problem.
have had the same problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's ways
we-
to. I'm hoping we didn't just lose everything we just did.
I'm hoping too.
Something just happened. My computer just went blank, and we're gonna finish up. If we did, we might try to recreate it later today. That was really, really weird. My computer just glitched, and it's got plenty of battery, but it's kind of signaling that we need to open up the shop.
Yes.
Really fast before we go. I'm trying to decide the As You Wish Knit Along starts on Tuesday, maybe 22nd. This is one combination. This is another combination. And we thought through maybe this would be a combination for what I'm thinking of for my Princess Bride knit along. I can't decide. Y'all will be surprised, but if you want to weigh in on which one I should use, you can weigh in and I will consider and ponder it all and then make my own decision. But I'm going to start that next week.
We've had
So,
a couple people weigh in and go, ooh, I like that kit. I'm doing it. I want that one.
yeah.
So, I mean, that's an option too. Now,
Yeah, one of the things I showed off like a couple weeks ago is gone because people bought it.
just know that the one with the llama lace, we only have like 2 skeins of that. So
If anyone wants this, grab it now. You'll need 2 skeins of the small ones, the Aini. Ask me what they are if you're interested, and we can hook you up with it. So I'm gonna go find out. We have sit and stitch tomorrow night, 7 to 9 p.m. I'm gonna go find out if this worked, and if the Zoom thing glitching, like my whole computer screen went dark, like it went to sleep. I thought the battery might have died, but I have full battery, like I have 76%. If it didn't capture this, we might try to recreate what we just did, but not till tomorrow morning, because I got to go home straight after work. So we're gonna hope that we didn't just lose all the recording we did.
well, we might come up with new and interesting things if we
Yeah, say the same things or different things, or we'll find out. But y'all have a good day.
Bye.
Bye. We will see you on Tuesday if we don't see you at knit night. Bye.